Hello and welcome to Schmidy's guide on beginning DPS in Secret World Legends. This guide is targeted towards players who have just recently reached level 50 and have started looking into doing elite dungeons as a DPS, or starting scenarios. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our gear. I would suggest using this gear as a DPS for elite dungeons and for scenarios, though the build I am looking at right now is specifically for elite dungeons. If you would like build suggestions on solo builds, I have already created a video for that. Check it out so that you can get a good idea of what you should be doing, because the solo builds will also work great in scenarios. So, let's look at this gear. Obviously, we're going to have all attack rating pieces, so the real question here is how should I be glyphing? And the answer is a lot of crit rating, it seems. It looks like the game expects you right now to have one hit rating glyph, and that in combination with about one or two full passives full of hit rating from either tank or DPS weapons will give you enough hit rating that you are never glancing. So just one hit rating glyph, and if you are still glancing, try to get some hit rating passives, because that's going to be enough to get you to where you're not glancing. Then all the rest of it really looks like it needs to be critical rating for a couple of reasons. Looks like there isn't much of a diminishing return, at least not early on, for crit rating, so it becomes really strong in that sense. Crit rating gives you consistency because the higher your crit chance, the more often you'll be critting. And every time you critical hit, you will be getting an energy back, and that energy can be converted into even more extra DPS. So crit seems really strong. The second reason why I think crit rating is much better than the one crit power glyph that I put on there that's still level 1 green is because you get a lot of crit power from just the game. The game just sort of throws it at you. So you get 25% crit power as like your baseline for being a character. Then as you level up your weapon expertise, you'll get another 30% crit damage. And then it continues on here from like active abilities. So opening shot gives you an extra 30%. There's a buff from the chaos paradoxes that gives the entire group a 30% crit power chance. One of the passives we use right here makes it so that my critical hits do 35% more damage for demolish. So to take advantage of those things that are just already there for you that give tons of crit power, I want a whole lot of crit rating to make it so that it happens a lot, so that I'm taking advantage of that bonus as often as possible. So we're going to now be looking at the build here. Obviously running Hammer and Chaos. So we're running Smash, the only real choice for my builder here. Then we're running Seethe to give me more Hammer energy, and because of the incredible passive that comes along with Seethe. We're running Demolish because it is just the best skill ever. Look at that damage when it's enraged. 43,100 damage, which is better than my Elite, which is only doing 2,900 damage. This build is also set to stack a lot of Exposed, so along with doing substantial damage, this build is also going to be applying Exposed almost 100% uptime, which is going to be great for your group because it makes everybody do about 10% more damage. And then in the Chaos line, we are running Breakdown for the DPS damage consumer, and we are running Reality Fracture because it stacks Exposed, and also because the passive for it will make up for the low damage that it does base. So speaking of, let's look at our passives here. We are for Chaos, looking at Resonance Cascade, which is a great skill because it makes it so that any of your buff Chaos Enigmas will immediately buff the entire party. Usually they become a buff on your opponent first, and they either need to be purged or that opponent needs to be killed while the buff is active to gain its benefits. This skill ignores that and just immediately gives the buff to your party, and it also gives you a better chance of gaining paradoxes, which makes it so that you will be getting those buffs more often. Disintegrate just makes it so the Breakdown does an extra hit as long as you've done all of your other hits are successful in Breakdown. Would consider changing this skill out as I get more of them, but I don't have all the hammer skills yet. Outrage is an incredible skill, however, that I would never consider changing, because it gives you 38 rage whenever you use Seethe. Basically, it makes it so that whenever you use Seethe, which gives you 4 hammer energy, your next attack is going to be an enraged attack. Then we have Rend Space, which helps to make up for the low damage that Reality Fracture has base. It will make it so that you do an extra about looks like almost 1300 damage as long as you can keep the enemy in that circle for about 5 seconds, which is usually pretty reasonable to do. And finally, the skill we've already seen, Obliterate, makes it so that when I do critical hit with Demolish, the critical hits are huge. So let's run over to the Elite Dungeon sandbag here and run a quick rotation. Basically, the rotation is pretty flexible, pretty easy. We want an opener. Our opener is going to be Reality Fracture into Eruption. Then we're going to use Demolish, and at almost exactly the same time as we use Demolish, we're going to use Seethe because it's not affected by Global Recharge. The reason we do this is because Reality Fracture stacks Exposed, which will make your opponent take 10%-ish more damage. And then Eruption is going to do a ton of damage, so we want the target to already be exposed by the time we use Eruption. Then from there, we just are wanting to use our energy, so we're using Demolish so that we can immediately use Seethe without losing a bunch of energy. And from there, we just use Breakdown and Demolish in any order as long as we have energy, and we use Smash. The only thing we're going to be looking at is when our cooldowns get close, we want to make sure that the second they're up, we actually have enough energy so we can use them. So basically just going to go through about 3 times here on the rotation. Going to be going until we've used Eruption 3 times. So we are going to start off with Reality Fracture, Eruption, then Demolish and Seethe at about the same time. And now you can see all I'm doing is using my big stuff in an attempt to make sure that I don't waste any energy. So just swinging away, and you can see it's pretty flexible, right? I'm just using the energy when I get it here. Ooh, we're getting a little bit of lag, but let's continue. So we're just hitting this guy. That's second Demolish, I believe. And again, it's really easy. That's very flexible rotation. Like, okay, do I have enough energy? Yes, no. If yes, then basically we're just using it. So right now, Reality Fracture is about to come online. We're going to make sure I've got enough energy for it when it comes up. Then we're going to attack and just sort of waste out our energy here. Boom. All right. And that is our rotation now. Pretty flexible, as you can see. It doesn't really matter which attack you're using between Demolish and Breakdown, as long as you're not going to be losing energy for using that particular skill. So that's kind of nice. It gives you a little more flexibility. It makes it so it's a lot harder to make big mistakes like it was in the Secret World. And allows you to continue doing great damage. Let me see if we have a decent combat log or if other people running around has been messing with that. Oh no, it's just me. So there you go. In 48 seconds, we are doing about 2,000 DPS right now with mostly max level blue gear, a lot of which honestly doesn't even have glyphing right now. So you will definitely be able to do any of the elite ones and probably starting into elite 2s with this kind of damage. And we are nowhere close to being able to do elite 2s. We're still 100 item power away. So definitely the way that I would suggest going for DPS right now, and I hope this guide helped you out. I'll be making a guide for tanks here pretty soon. I hope to see you there.